Recording stopped.
Can you hear me now? Okay, let me. I hope it's more audible now. All right, great. Now, are we waiting for more people, or is everybody here yet? I believe everyone is here. All right. Now, let me introduce myself. My name is Laiba, and I will be your speaking instructor for this session. Now, if anybody would like to unmute and talk or ask questions, that is perfectly acceptable. If you would like to text your question in the chat, I'm reading the chat as well, okay? So for anybody looking to ask any questions, please do let me know. Let me open up.
Hi, Laiba. I am here from Himma. Could you please tell us what are you going to talk about?
Yes, of course. Today we are covering the grading system of our speaking test. We will break it down into different segments and understand how we're graded. And we will also look into some tips to acing these segments so you get a better score at the end. And we will also be having a one-on-one questionnaire session where I will ask you some basic questions from the Ielts test, and you will be answering them with the tips in mind.
Sounds great. So you will go through real practice with our subscribers?
Absolutely, absolutely. We will be doing that.
Can you tell us first about the speaking of Ielts? What is the techniques or what is the most important things we could consider in Ielts speaking?
Absolutely. The first thing to do when you'd like to ace your test is to understand how the examiner is grading you, right? So you need to understand the parts of the speaking test. Now let me start off with how many parts we have. And if I could screen share, it will be very easier for people to view it. Can I screen share? Let me just, all right, so it is disabled for me. Hayam, can you allow me to share my screen?
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Waiting for you.
Now you are able to share your screen?
Can I, okay. Let me simply go through. I hope everybody can see it.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Now, I would like to remind again, if anybody has any question or doesn't understand, please don't hesitate to unmute yourself and ask on the spot, or you can also send your message through the chat. Now, the first thing we want to cover is what IELTS is about. There are three parts in the speaking test of IELTS. Now, part one, we have broken it down into the time frames that they give you for each part, as well as what they will include. Now, the first part is an introductory session where they will ask you personal things about yourself. In these, they can ask you about your work, where you live, how many friends you have, about pets, about your hobbies, about your study, and such interests. In this part one, where they will ask you questions about yourself, they will give you 4 to 5 minutes to answer all of these. Okay? In part two, they will transition. Now, the first thing to remember is that they will not tell you that we are on part one, now we are on part two. This is in a whole continuation, and you should be able to recognize which part you are being examined for right now. Now, let me see part two. In part two, they will give you a card on the table where you will be where you will be giving your exam, and it will have a specific topic, and it will include 3 points that you will have to answer in the when you speak. Now, if you're going to ask me how will we be speaking on this task card, basically they will give you 1 minute to think about what you want to talk about, and then you will have 2 minutes to consistently speak on the subject. One common thing that they do is talk about a book that impacted you a lot. Now, as you see, this is a very large topic. You can talk about the name of the book, the author, when you read it, how it impacts you, and all these details, right? And this will be covered in 2 minutes worth of speaking time. So part two will take up 3 to 4 minutes of your time. Then they move on to part three. Now, in part three, the examiner will ask you follow-up questions on the topic of part two. I believe my mic is not clear. Let me see. I hope it is now.
It
No.
is still unclear. Please, could you check your microphone or something?
Let me test it right now. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Hello. Now, is anything better now?
No, actually, it's worse, unfortunately.
Oh my God. Okay, let me see. I don't understand what went wrong. Maybe the wiring.
دقائق إن شاء الله وترجع المدربة معانا على بال ما تصلح المايك تبعها.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, perfect. Now let me present again, and I will repeat the part again. Now, there are three main parts of the IELTS speaking test. They will not tell you, the examiner will not be able to tell you which part you are on. You will have to judge it by yourself. Now, part one is where they will ask you about your introductions. They can ask you any question about where do you live, do you work, what your interest is, what your favorite game is, about your family even. These kind of topics are very prevalent in part one. Now, part one takes up to 4 to 5 minutes of your time in the whole session. Then you move on to part two. In part two, you will be given a card on a topic, and it will have some bullet points on things that you need to talk about. Now, this topic is a little less personal and more about talking in detail. For example, they can ask you about a book that impacted you, and they can ask you what the name of the book is, who wrote it, and why it impacts you so much. Now, this part of the session, they will give you 1 minute to think about the topic that you will be speaking on, and then you will have 2 minutes to talk about it in detail. Then we move on to part three. Now, in part three, it will be related to the part two topic. For example, if they ask you a topic about your favorite book and how it impacted you, in part three, they will ask you rhetorical questions.
Recording in progress.
And theoretical questions about the topic. For example, do you think that books are as important as they were 10 years ago? Right? And these will be follow-up questions to part two. Now, in part three, it is a two-way communication, and the examiner can ask you, why do you think so and why not? And you should be able to answer immediately on the beat, right? Now, part three will take up to 4 to 5 minutes of your topic. Okay? Now let me move on to tips. If anybody has any questions about the parts, please unmute yourself and ask immediately. All right, I see that we do not have any questions. Now, I will move on to some common tips that people need to remember when you're giving your IELTS test. In IELTS test, the first thing that you need to know is that you cannot memorize any answer. If you try to memorize any answer, The topic is never exactly what you believe it will be. In fact, it can be anything different. And when you talk about a memorized answer, the examiner will be able to catch it immediately because it is, of course, unnatural. And since it is a communicative test, the difference is very visible. So you should never memorize your answers. All right. Now, the second tip to remember is never to use big and unfamiliar words. For example, if you read a word in a vocabulary book that asks you to memorize this word and use it in your test, when you don't know the meaning of it or when you haven't practiced it, I would strongly recommend that you never use those words. In fact, keeping a normal vocabulary that is used in the everyday conversations, these are very much important. So stick to the main topics, stick with common words, and basically ace your test while knowing what you are saying. Now, tip number 3 is that you need to use a range of grammatical structures. If you do not know this, IELTS speaking is graded on 4 main topics. The first part is pronunciation, how well you can pronounce your words. For example, if the top word you have to say is spaghetti and you say spaghetti, they might chalk it up to your accent. But if you say spaghetti, then they will cut down your pronunciation marks because you are unable to pronounce a natural word and it impacts your fluency. Now, fluency is your second topic, second segment that they grade you on, how fluent you are. When you are speaking, how well somebody can understand. If you mess up your pronunciations and you talk with a lot of breaks in your sentences, they will reduce your marks in the fluency section. Now, the third thing is grammar. Now, here's where tip number 3 comes to use because they want to see you use different tenses. They want to see you use different phrases. For example, metaphors, maybe similes, comparison words, different tenses, active and passive voices. They want to see all into place while your sentences remain coherent to the topic. Right? So you should be able to use different structures. For example, if you're talking about something that happened, you should be able to keep it in the past tense instead of moving it into the future or the present. Now, tip number 4 is to not worry about your accent. No examiner wants you to use an accent that is not naturally yours. For example, I would not expect an Australian person to immediately start using an American accent when talking, right? Accents are something to be very proud of, and accents are something to use. Now, tip number 5 is to pause when you have to think, right? Instead of, if somebody asks you a question and you're not sure what your answer is, don't start talking immediately. What you can do is use a trick where you can say, that's a really amazing question. Can you give me 1 minute to think about it? Or maybe you can say, that's a great question. I might need to think about this a little. All right. So if you think you want to think about your answer, always pause and always say something to ensure that they are not seeing your pause as maybe a lack of confidence or maybe as a lack of wording. Tip number 6 is to avoid using filler. Now, filler words are basically anything like these words, please do not use them. They immediately impact your fluency. Tip number 7 is to extend your answers. Now, if an examiner asks you a question, where do you live? The very simple answer would be, I live in a house, right? But they want to know more about you. So if they ask you, where do you live? Your typical and a very 8-band score answer would be, I live in a house with 2 rooms and 1 big garden at the back where we keep our chickens. And the kitchen has a really big window that lets a lot of sunlight pour in. And I think I really love my house because it's such a good place to live in. And it's not even in a busy neighborhood. See, you extended your answer. You talked about your house and you were relevant to the topic and you gave them a lot of vocabulary. You showed them that you understood the question and that you were willing to talk about it. All right, now tip number 8 is smiling helps pronunciation as well as confidence. If you feel extremely nervous, smile to yourself. It helped me when I was giving my IELTS a few years back, and most of the students that I teach, I recommend that, hey, smile to yourself, maybe hum your favorite song while you're waiting. Not in front of the examiner, of course, but while they're alone and waiting in the lobby. What it does, that smiling helps you pronounce words better. It lowers your stress, and so you can answer much better and with much less stress. Now, tip number 9 is to never speak in a monotone. Raise your pitch, lower your pitch, and talk in a very nice manner. Sometimes slow down, sometimes pick up your speed. So do not speak in a monotone, because that sometimes indicates that maybe you've memorized your answer or maybe you don't understand what to say. Now, the last tip is that practice makes perfect. And by that, I mean that the more you practice your speaking, the more you're likely to ace your test. So in order to practice your test, all you have to do is talk to your friends, listen to English songs, watch English movies, maybe even listen to radio. All these things work wonders and they can help you. Another thing that you can, of course, do is open up previous speaking session questions and ask yourself those questions, give your answer, see if you're proving to be on point with the time and everything, and try to grade yourself or have a friend grade you. Now, these are all the top 10 tips that you need to remember. I'm going to stop sharing, and from here on, we can talk about picking students and having them answer some basic IELTS session questions. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. Any questions, anybody? All right, I will move on to some questions. Now, the first thing I want to practice is the part 1. So all of us understand how part 1 works. Now, the first person, Ali, can you unmute yourself?
Yes,
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great as well. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is your hometown. So where is your hometown?
My hometown is located in the eastern side of Saudi Arabia. To be specific, in Al-Hasa. It is an oasis. That means it's like a Greenland in the middle of the desert. And it is famous with it's known of many things like the traditions, the folklore of this town.
Great. Now, what do you like about it?
I think the most thing I like about it is that it is a modern city and an old city at the same time. It's mixed of the two things, and to have that balance between the two. Because if you want to live a modern style, you can go to the east side of it. If you want to live in the old days, I would experience what the ancestor or the ancient Hassawis, you can go to the west side of it. So that's I think that's what's great about it.
All right. Now, what do you not like about it?
I think in some areas the infrastructure is not that good. You have once in a while a sewer that's flowed down the streets, and the roads are not quite smooth. You have rocky roads, and some of the schools are not well supported because they located in the countryside of the town.
All right. Now, how important is your hometown to you?
I think it's everything. My hometown is everything because it's the place that I have grown up in, and the place where family are, and all my time. I have never left it until this now. I'm 22 right now, and I have never left Al Hassa for more than 2 weeks.
So do you think you will continue to live in your hometown?
Unfortunately, I don't think so. I think it's necessary to leave your hometown and to leave it and to get acquainted, because you don't know what life will enforce you to do. Of course, I will have a job opportunities outside my town, so I will 100% will be enforced to leave it. So I think it's a good idea to leave it once in a while to get acquainted to this feeling. Yeah.
Makes sense. Now let's move on to talk about accommodation. Can you tell me about the kind of accommodation you live in?
Is accommodation means the habits or the daily routine?
The residence, the house, or a flat. Where do you live?
Yeah, I live in a villa. My family's villa. It's two floors. Each floor has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and it's in a very spacious neighborhood. So with all the life needs you need.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. So does the place you live in have many amenities?
Excuse me, can you repeat the question?
Yes. Does the place you live in have many amenities?
Does amenities mean the life needs or?
Yes.
Yes, I think all the amenities are available. There is a sidewalk you can walk in. There is a garden with a football pitch where you can play football, and everything is available from the lowest need and to the highest need.
Okay. Now, is there anything you would like to change about the place you live in?
I don't think so. I think it's the place I live in have all the amenities that I need.
All right. And do you plan to live there for a long time?
I don't think so, because I am about to graduate. So that's mean that there is a more chance to me to leave than to stay. So I think I will not live here for a long time. I will have to explore another cities, because of course, the bigger the city it is, the bigger the job opportunity you have. So I don't think I will live.
Now, let me move on to Manar.
Yeah, fine.
Hello, Manar. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. There's some disturbance in the background.
My background.
Yes, of course, there's some noise.
I don't know. Just give me 1 minute.
Okay. Please unmute yourself as soon as you can.
And now?
Yes, it is great.
Okay.
It's very silent now. Now, Manar, I would like to ask you, do you use computers?
Yes.
What do you use a computer to do?
I'm studying chemistry in college, and if I had a presentation or science, anything I want to search about it, I use my laptop.
All right. Did you use computers when you were younger?
Yes, I used it when I was younger because I was applied in Google.
Okay. Do people often use computers these days?
Yes, of course. It's everywhere.
Now, do you think will people continue to use computers in the future as well?
Can you repeat that?
I want to know if you think that people will continue to use computers in the future.
I don't think so because the phone maybe we can use phone instead of laptop sometime. So it's not always be there.
All right. Now let's talk about public figures. Who is your favorite celebrity?
I don't have a particular one of celebrities. I don't think so.
Do you like any foreign celebrities?
No, because I follow a lot of them, so I don't have a particular one.
Okay. Would you want to be a celebrity in the future?
No, I think their life, they show their life, and their life shown in everywhere. They don't have a privacy in their life.
Speaking of privacy, do you think we should protect famous people's privacy?
Yes, of course, they have life like us.
All right. And how do celebrities influence their fans in your country?
Can you repeat that?
Yes. I asked, how do celebrities influence their fans in your country?
Their influence. Can you give me 1 minute to think about it?
Yes, absolutely. Take your time.
I think they affect especially on the children more than young people.
Why do you think so, and how?
Because they don't have maybe their parents they don't look after them, so they don't know what's wrong and what's right,
Yes.
so they affect. Yes,
All right. Please continue your answer.
no, it's
All right. So that concludes your part one. Now, can Allah, I hope I'm saying your name right. Can you unmute yourself? Can you please unmute yourself, Allah? Are you there? Let me wait for 1 minute to see if there's any response. If not, then I will move on to part two.
Yes.
Hello, how are you doing? Hello, I
Fine.
can hear you. All right. Now let me ask you some questions about, let's see. Now, can you tell me if you work or study?
I'm nothing. I am stay at home.
All right. Let me ask you something that is not study or work related then. Okay, so where was the last place you visited on a holiday?
What?
Where was the last place? Your voice is cutting. I will repeat. Where was the last place? Where was the last place you visited on holiday?
Riyadh City.
Okay, and would you like to go back there?
Yes, of course.
What kind of tourist destinations do you usually prefer?
I didn't understand what you say.
Yes, I said, what kind of tourist destination do you prefer?
Again, please.
What kind of tourist destination, what kind of a place do you usually prefer to visit?
I love Bahrain City.
All right. Now, what do you really love about Bahrain?
What?
What do you love about that city?
All things. I like.
Okay, let's talk about visitors. Has any foreign tourist ever stayed at your home?
Again, please.
Yes, I asked, has a foreign tourist ever stayed at your home? Hello?
Yes,
Can you answer the question or should I repeat?
I don't understand what you say.
Okay. I asked you, has any foreign
Change
person...
the question.
Okay. Let's talk about some music, right? How much time do you spend listening to music every day?
All day, almost.
All day. All right. So are your music taste varied?
Mm. Sometimes.
What is your favorite song?
My favorite song. All songs. I love.
All songs.
Hello again.
Yes, I am here.
Songs Adele. Hello.
All right. Do you like to sing along to your favorite songs?
Yes.
Now, are you learning to play any music instrument at the moment?
Arabic songs.
Arabic songs. What about musical instruments?
No.
No? All right. That concludes your part 1. Now you can mute yourself if you like to, and I will bring up cards that you will have to answer. I'm sharing my screen once again. And the first person to come up
Thank
will
you.
be... Oh, thank you. Now, Ali, I hope you can hear me fine. And here is your card. You will have 2 minutes to speak about it. And before that, you will get 1 minute to think about this topic. Your 1 minute of thinking time starts now. All right, your 1 minute is out for thinking. Now you have to speak about the topic for 2 minutes. You can keep talking. I will interrupt you when your time is up. All right?
All right.
Your time starts now.
Okay, the most recent book that I have read is a novel by a Russian writer called Fyodor Dostoevsky. The name of the novel is Karamazov Brothers. It's a long novel. It consists of 4 volumes. Each volume's about 500 pages. So it should take you a month
I think your voice
to
cut
read
off.
it. It's okay now?
Yes, is it okay?
Yeah. I think it should take you a month to finish all the volumes, with each volumes taking a week to read. It is about a family that consists of 3 brothers and a father. Okay, how they live their life together, what are the character dynamics between them, the things that they do, the things that they like and the things they dislike, how their relationship interact with each other, and many more. It's a comprehensive novel. It's cover many topics. For example, there is a character which is called Alyosha. This Alyosha guy is a boy at around 14 or 15 years old. He is somehow a religious person. So in his parts of, or the character acts of Alyosha is mostly religious.
Sorry to interrupt, Ali. Your time is up. All right. Thank you. Now let me move on to the other person that we have, who is Allah. Can you unmute yourself again, please? Hi, Allah, are you there?
Yes.
Yes, now this is your card for the part 2 of this IELTS speaking test. I would like for you to look at this and think about for 1 minute what you will be speaking, and then you will have 2 minutes to talk about this topic. All right?
Okay.
Your 1 minute of thinking starts now.
Wait a minute. You want to say when this happened?
Yes. All right, your thinking time is up. Now you can start talking for 2 minutes. I will interrupt you when your time is up. All right?
Okay.
Your time starts now.
My mom. My mom told me, don't overthinking. Because
Hello, are you still there?
yes.
All right. Please answer the question, the card.
It felt great. Can you make? Can I have 1 minute, please?
Yes, please take your time. Now, can you start speaking now?
I advice from my mom. She said, don't overthinking. Before 1 hour, she told me, don't overthinking.
All right, so your time is up. Can you mute yourself and so I can move on to the next speaker? All right, the next person is Manar. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes.
All right, now this is your card. You will have 1 minute to think and then 2 minutes to speak. All right?
Okay. All right.
I'll start your 1 minute timer now. All right, your 1 minute thinking time is up, Manar. Now you have 2 minutes to speak on the topic, and you should cover all the bullet points available here. And your time starts now.
The exercise is for brain activation. It's for if I have any exams and I'm not in the mood to study, I will solve any problem, math problem, to activate my brain. So I will study well. And everyone can do this experiment, even if the problem it's easy. Yeah, the brain will activate, and you will do it to have a good marks in your exam.
All right, is that your entire answer?
Yes.
All right, that's great. That took you 1 minute, which left you with 1 minute remaining. Now I will stop sharing, and now I will ask you questions regarding your part 3. Now in part 3, as I recall, part 3 is follow-up questions to the topic that you have already answered, right? So starting with Ali, I believe your topic was about a book.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, it was.
All right, all right. So let me ask you a question about books. Do people read more nowadays?
I don't think so. I think people nowadays is interested in speed and quick information. How to get the quick information as possible as they can. They don't look for reading a book because books are slow to read, are slow to extract the information from the books. So people now, if they want to learn anything, they will search Google, they will go to the quick information, they will stop. They don't want further information. and that's, in my opinion, it is a problem because you block yourself from the whole truth. You only get one part of the truth and leave the other part of the truth. And the result, of course, will be a confusion for yourself, for your understanding of life, the concept of realities, and many topics like ethics, moralities. You will be completely ignorant of many things that you choose not to search about.
All right. Wow. Now,
Sorry, your voice cut off. I cannot hear you.
sorry, that was on my behalf. I'll repeat the question. Do you read before going to bed?
Is the question for me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Sometimes I do. I think it's keep your mind active, and that's a good thing. You need to keep your mind active all the time. People nowadays, instead of reading a book, they will grab their phone and scroll around the TikTok feed and Twitter, Instagram, whatever. They keep their mind busy with the unprofitable things that not beneficial for their mind, for their peace. And I think grabbing a book before you go to bed is very, very effective because it will enhance your way of thinking and give you a positive vibe.
All right. Now, in your opinion, how will ebooks affect paper books?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, my question is, in your opinion, how will ebooks affect paper books?
I think ebooks does not affect paper book that much. I think people still prefer to grab a physical copy of the book as much as they can. If not available, they will of course switch to ebook. Ebooks nowadays give an advantage and the accessible side of this topic. So the accessibility is much more comfortable, as one might say. You can read in the train station. You can read in the airplane. So, and the accessible size is a good thing.
All right. Now, what's the difference between films and books?
Right, that's very deep questions. But I think films is a faster version of books. If we watch a film, you watch the faster version of the book. Book is much slower. It is deeper, of course. It is more comprehensive than a film. A film gives you the nitty-gritty, as my one say. It does not give you the whole picture. If you want to go deeper and answer all the questions that a film or a book raises, you need to go to read the book. Let's say if we, all of us know what Harry Potter is. If you watch the film of Harry Potter, of course you will enjoy it. It will consume less time, but you will not get the whole picture. If you want to go deeper and know about the lore, the character arcs of all the characters, you need to go to read the novel.
All right, now let me ask you your final question. Do you like reading the traditional literature of your country?
To be quite honest, I don't like the local literature of my country. I think it's need to be more mature than it is right now, and I think we are making progress toward this goal, because now with the 2030 vision, the interest and the importance of books grows, and there is many commissions open for literature and translation that will enhance literature in my country. So I hope in the future I became a fan of my local literature than I am right now.
All right, now let me talk to Allah. Allah, can you unmute yourself? Let's try talking more about your topic. Allah, can you unmute? All right. I will move on to Manar. Manar, can you unmute while
Yes.
Allah gets you up? All right. Now remind me the topic that you were studying. I believe the topic that we were doing was an exercise, correct?
Yes.
All right, so let me ask you more questions about health. Now, can you tell me how people can improve their health?
Doing the exercise during the day, every day. If they're doing the exercise every day, the health of their hearts and their body will be good.
All right. Now, do elderly people exercise much in your country?
In the last year, yes, the exercise was everywhere, especially the walk. The walk, was in everyone was to walk to improve their health.
Okay, now do you think that all illnesses can be prevented?
Can you describe that?
Yes. My question was, do you think that all illnesses can be prevented or avoided? Can I
No,
rephrase? All right, sorry.
your voice is not clear.
Wait, let me. Okay, is it any better right now?
No.
Now, the question that I asked was, do you think that all illnesses and diseases can be prevented? Hi, Manar.
I'm sorry, my mic was off.
All right, all right. Your answer?
Absolutely not, because there are a lot of disease related to the weather or season we are in. So even if we are doing exercise or take any tablet to prevent the disease, sometimes we can't.
All right. And do you think that illnesses will be less common in the future?
Maybe not, because of the weather and the smoke and the technology we use. Maybe that will affect the weather. So maybe the sickness will increase.
Okay. Do you think that healthcare should be free?
Yes, of course, because everyone need the health care. It's
Okay, and
important.
What makes someone a good doctor?
If he absolutely study well and had a lot of patients and see a lot of cases and had experiment in his job.
All right. Now moving on to Allah. You can mute yourself, Manar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving on to Allah. Can you unmute yourself? Allah, could you unmute yourself, please? I believe that she is not in the meeting right now. All right, so any questions I will be entertaining right now. Anybody has any questions, please ask me. I would love to answer some questions.
Please, can I answer? Can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
In the grading system of Ielts, do they take into account how reasonable your argument is? Or it's
I
just
do not
pure
think-
or it is just pure fluency and pronunciation and grammar?
Yes, of course, they don't care about your answer as long as your answer is relevant to the topic. All right? So as long as you're staying relevant to the topic and answering the question that they've asked you, they do not care about what you are saying or whether it is correct or not. All right?
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions? If anybody has any other questions, please ask, or that will be the end of our session for today. Any feedback would be great as well.
Thank you for your patience, and
Thank you so much.
it will be cool if we get a quick feedback and all of what we achieved.
All right,
now.
absolutely. All right. I will give you a quick review of each of you and talk about things that I really loved about your speaking and things that need some working on. All right. So for Ali, I think your answers are super detailed and have great vocabulary in them. All right, which I think is super impressive. So if I was the instructor for your exam and I conducted this, for your fluency, you would get almost an 8 band or 8.5 band because there were little to no pauses. Vocabulary would be graded as 8.5 bands. However, you might suffer in the grammatical portion because you were unable to complete some of your answers because the answers were super long, right? So you were unable to answer the exact question being asked, for example, in part 2. So I would suggest that the exact answer that they ask from you, you should revolve around it. Because of course there will almost always be a follow-up question that you will need to answer. All right. I think you've done super great in this session. Now, moving on to Manar. I think Manar, one thing that I would like for you to work on is elaborating your answers, right? So if, for instance, when I asked you about your vacation, I believe, then you should elaborate where you went, what time it was, who you went with in your answer. If I ask you, for instance, a question about where was the last vacation you took, then you should say, oh, my last vacation was in London. This is just made up, of course, but my last vacation was in London and I went with my family and 2 of my friends who tagged along. We stayed there for 5 days and it was a lot of fun because we watched a lot of buildings and we went out to try new foods. Right? It talks about the topic in detail and shows that you have a lot of vocabulary to offer. One thing that I really did love about you was how you did your part 2 and how you continued your part 3. So I think you are, if I had to give you an overall estimated score, I would go for perhaps a 6.5 band overall for the entire test. As for Amara, if there's any question, please don't hesitate to ask me.
Okay, thank you. I will work on it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that is all, I believe. And if there is no other question or comment, then I will end this meeting for today. All right, I will see you in the next speaking session, hopefully, and we will go on from there as well. Thank you so much for being in the session, and I look forward to hearing from you again. Have a great night.
You too.
Recording stopped.